Good Sunday evening, everybody. It is the Burning River Browns Talk on the Fanatical Elves Network, which is a subsidiary of the Fans First Sports Network. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I am Lou Marconi at L Marconi251 on Instagram, at L Marconi1973 on X. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and feel free to comment. I'm going to address a controversial topic of the commencement speech that was done last week. I waited. We talked a little bit about it on Friday, but I don't think it was as informed of a discussion as it will be for me tonight. And I even talked to my co-host on Friday night, Sherry, about it last night. We're going to talk about that and also some things that I did notice. Two things that were pointed out. I noticed just doing my research about the Browns schedule. I thought it's positive. It's a good thing. So we're going to do that. But hey, I'm going to give my opinion on it. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk. So here we go. What I want to let you know is before we do that, we need to pause for a break for our sponsors. All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate everything else. First and foremost, let's talk about the Browns schedule. There's two things that was pointed out. I saw in another podcast, and I thought it was something worth pointing out I did not notice before. Time zones traveled. Browns are tied for second least amount of time zones traveled. Well, if you keep in mind, the farthest west they have to go is Las Vegas, which is pretty far west, but they're not going all the way to Seattle unless it's the preseason, of course, which there's 2 weeks time between that. And it's a game that doesn't count and doesn't mean anything. And very few starters, if any, will be playing in that final preseason game. So that's good. And also miles traveled. We're in the bottom third of the league with miles having to be traveled. So that's really good. And I also think it's an advantage of the week 9 matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers coming here. You're talking about a West Coast team having to play a 1 o'clock game in Cleveland at the end of October. So who knows what the weather will be like for the LA people. So we'll have to see. But weather here or there doesn't mean anything. But I think having least bottom third of the league, least amount of miles traveled, and less time zones, because that really is what wears you out, will help. Um, Now moving on to what else I was going to talk about and what I'm going to address. I have Friday night. I wanted women's opinions on this. So I just kind of wanted to generate the discussion. I had Megan Donovan on the show with me, as well as my co-host on Friday, Sherry, the Browns fan girl. She's fantastic. I consider them both colleagues and friends, and we'd have different opinions on things. They were under the impression of Harrison Butker's speech, the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, at the commencement at a Catholic college was about women staying in the kitchen, when he didn't say that. That's not at all what he said. He didn't say women stay in the kitchen. Women interpreted that. They took it as him saying that, but it's not what he said. What he is saying is for women to embrace their roles as wives and mothers, much like men should embrace their roles as husbands and fathers. And he did talk as well about the culture of men being emasculated, or the attack on masculinity. So that's essentially what he said. I'm paraphrasing it. I did see it. I did finally watch it, and I read the transcript and everything he said. So I wanted to address it, and I wanted to address the show on Friday, which I think we could have done a better job of addressing and discussing. I'm going to say this. I think taking a little bit further what he said, okay? People make decisions in their lives. People make choices in their lives. They could choose to have a family, they could choose not to. I made the choice to have a family, but I did it later in my life. I didn't get married, from personal experience. I didn't get married until about 4 days before I turned 40. I didn't have my first child until I was 42. Well, my wife is 8 years younger than me. And my second one was when I was 44, and then my last one, we didn't. We made the decision that we said we're gonna have two, and that was it. And I have two beautiful daughters. Can't picture my life without my daughters or without my family. That was a decision I made. Now, if you look behind me, and if you know anything about me, you see bodybuilding trophies and championship belts. Yes, I'm a retired pro wrestler, and I was an amateur bodybuilder. I did that. I competed as a professional athlete, and I competed as an amateur bodybuilder. I've won trophies. I've won on stage, and I've won belts in the ring. It's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing thrill, but it's short lived. I did it. I got it out of my system. I potentially gave up. I gave up a potential world championship run with the National Wrestling Alliance to be a dad. I gave up professional wrestling to embrace my role as a husband and as a father. That was my decision. Nobody put a gun to my head. Nobody forced me to do anything. So I knew. I knew once I did this, I was in my 40s. I can't just come back in my 50s and play at the same level. I'm getting older. My body's beat up. It's just what it is. So I knew. It's like, yeah, once I yeah, it's been my oldest is going to be 9. So as after I said, I lost my national championship belt in February of 2015, and my wife went through the first trimester with our first child, and I had to fulfill my wrestling obligations, and I did. I fulfilled all my commitments. I made sure I made every date I was supposed to be at. Took some time off just to heal, and then after I was at home for a while, I just said, "This I feels right. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be." In my faith and what I believe, God has me exactly where I'm supposed to be. You might believe different. That's fine. What Harrison Buckner was saying, and I'm going to take it a step further, was there's an attack on masculinity and there's an attack on fathers. Because if you look at our culture right now, watch any sitcom or any commercial, and the father is presented as a bumbling idiot. And it's sickening. The father's useless. It's true. The reason why people reacted the way they did was because he spoke the truth in that regard. Now, women embracing their roles as a wife and as a mother, that's a woman's choice to do that. If a woman chooses to do it, you have to respect her choice. If a woman wants to pursue her career and not focus on a family, then she's going to understand that choice, and she might. There's times that she might go through her life feeling like she missed out on something by not having a family, or by having a family, she might have feel like she missed out on something by not having a career. I feel, based on my faith, and I can only say what I did, is I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be as a husband, as a father, and as a man. Yeah, it's cool. I have the belts behind me. I have this. Let me show you something else. See that? That is my national championship ring from wrestling, from the NWA. It's got dust on it. I hardly wear it. It sits on my shelf with my trophies. I can't even tell you the last time I wore it or even put it on. Great. I have 2 college degrees. Great. I've had many job titles. Great. What's my headstone gonna read? Because sooner or later, we're all eventually not gonna be here anymore. What am I leaving? What did I do to make the world a better place? I raised 2 beautiful daughters. I had a family. Yeah, I won championships in the ring. Yeah, I did all that stuff. But I realized what was most important. And I think maybe Harrison Buckner could have worded it a little bit better. And I think maybe he could have done a little bit better, but he spoke of his faith. He spoke of his Catholic faith. I grew up Catholic. I'm really not a practicing Catholic right now. But if the NFL years ago were okay with players protesting the national anthem based on their First Amendment rights, then they have no business walking back or distancing themselves from what Harrison Buckner said. He has every right to say it, and you have every right to disagree with it. That's it. I appreciate it. I wanted to share part of myself and what I felt about it. Yeah. And there's no such thing as toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. There's just toxic behavior. Just don't be toxic. Let's focus on that. Let's be what we are and let's be the best of what we are. And that includes being best Browns fans we can be. All right, I'll be back tomorrow night at 9:30. Feel free to comment, feel free to reach out to me. You can disagree with me, I don't care. That's fine. But I think it's time we quit emasculating men. We quit ridiculing the roles of fathers because that's one of the things that are missing. It's not moms are great. Mothers are amazing. They're awesome. Women are great. Wives are great. But let's not discount the role of the father and the role of the man because we're equally as important. And quit emasculating men. I'll be the first to stand up and say, try it. Don't forget, when the river burns, it always burns brown and orange. I'll see you tomorrow night.